Hi, Jim Breasted again. In the second part of this training segment, I'll be discussing the 4 basic skills of motivational interviewing. These 4 skills are easily remembered using the acronym OARS. The use of the OARS analogy can also help remind us, as Smart Recovery facilitators and volunteers, that the boat belongs to the meeting participant or online member that we're working with. They describe where they are, whether it's a swamp, a lake, a river, an ocean, or whatever. They view their surroundings, examining the dangers and exploring the beauty. They decide on the final destination, and they decide on how they will get there. Oars will twirl the boat around in circles if they are not going in the same direction. As Smart Recovery facilitators and volunteers, we can encourage, model, point things out, provide energy, and drift with them, but in all actuality, we're just along for the ride. The acronym OARS stands for Open-Ended Questions, Affirmations, Reflective Listening, and Summary Statements. The use of OARS can be used to help our members and meeting participants by establishing interactive communications with them that can help them to resolve their problem behavior themselves. We can't recover for them, but we can certainly help them work it out by helping them develop discrepancy between where they are now and where they want to be. We can also help them to acknowledge and resolve their ambivalence to make the changes necessary for them to reach their goals. The O in OARS refers to open-ended questions. These are questions that cannot be answered with a limited response, such as yes, no, maybe, 7, next week. The benefit of asking open-ended questions is twofold. It not only helps individuals explore their own thinking, but it moves us away from giving or offering advice. Open-ended questions are the door openers that encourage the member to do most of the talking, with the goal of eliciting statements that develop discrepancy and reflect their self-efficacy. As I mentioned previously, people tend to believe what they hear themselves say. We can help draw out self-motivating statements with well-chosen, open-ended questions. Open-ended questions will likely start out with the 5 W's and 1 H, something that has been taught in journalism classes for almost 100 years. It's been said that these are the formula for getting the full story on anything and everything. These were memorialized by Rudyard Kipling in his Just So stories back in 1902, where his tale of the Elephant's Child opened with the poem, "I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why and when, and how and where and who." Again, we can help draw out self-motivating statements with well-chosen, open-ended questions. These 6 honest serving men can help us get participants to verbalize things like, what do they want? Why do they want it? How will they get there? How quickly will this happen? How badly do they want it? Where will they do this? When will this happen? Who can help them achieve this? Now, I'm not saying there is no room or place for closed-ended questions. They do have a purpose in some situations. However, the answer won't tell us much, and in order to further the conversation, another question will be required to gain additional information or clarification. I'm sure there will be a time where you may want to just come out and ask someone, do you really want to quit drinking? No matter what the answer is, whether it is yes or no, it will take another question to keep the conversation going. So instead, we might ask, how do you feel about your drinking? Instead of how much pot do you smoke, we might ask, tell us more about your pot smoking. Some examples of open-ended questions that you might use are, how about you tell me about? How would you like things to be different? What have you tried before? Where would you like to be in, say, 3 months? Why do you think? Who were you with when? The A in OARS refers to affirmations. With affirming statements, we help people acknowledge their positive behaviors and strengths. which helps build their confidence in their ability to change. Affirming statements allow for both the recognition of their difficulties and the support of their strengths, and lets them know their concerns and issues are valid. Affirmations convey respect, understanding, and support, and need to be both genuine and appropriate. Some examples of affirming statements are, "That's a great idea. It sounds like you've put a lot of thought into this." "It sounds like you are still struggling with making these changes, but you've had some success at making some. What do you think you can do to reduce your drinking even further?" The R in OARS stands for reflective listening. This is where you paraphrase or mirror the person's comment by repeating back what they said. This lets them know you heard what they said, and it makes sure you heard what you think you heard. It also deepens the conversation, allowing them to hear what they said once again, helping them understand themselves better. A reflection is always a statement, and as such, the inflection at the end goes down. However, you can turn a statement into a question by ending it with the inflection upward. Try it yourself with this statement. "You are trying to stop using drugs." Do you hear the difference? By raising the inflection at the end, the statement then becomes a question. There are different types of reflective listening. A simple reflection reflects exactly what is heard. Say you have a participant that says, "I don't want to quit." You might respond by saying, "So you don't think quitting will work for you?" Then there's a double-sided reflection. This reflection presents both sides of what has been said, which can be extremely useful in pointing out ambivalence. Say you have somebody that says, "There's no question that my children come first, but after I put them to bed, I don't see what the big deal is about smoking a little weed. I'm careful where I buy it so I won't be caught." You might respond to that by saying, "So, on one hand, you're saying that your children are very important to you and they come first. Then you also appear to be saying that you don't see anything wrong with your use of weed, and even appear to discount any risk you might be taking." Then there's also an amplified reflection. This type of reflection amplifies or heightens the resistance that is being heard. Say you have somebody that says, "I can't quit. What would my friends think?" You might respond to that by saying, "It sounds like there'd be pressure from your friends if you tried to stop." Some examples of reflective listening might be, "What I hear you saying is, from what I understand, you said." If someone says, "My girlfriend gets really pissed when I pass out after I get stoned," you might say, "From what I understand, she gets angry when you do that." If someone says, "I'm not what's called a happy drunk. When I'm out drinking, I've beaten some people up pretty bad," you might say, "What I'm hearing you say is that you've hurt people when you've gotten drunk." The S in OARS stands for summary statements. Summary statements pull together everything that's been stated, allowing for the transition to the next topic. You might ask what they have learned or got out of the experience. Summary statements are similar to reflective listening, but can also be a major help in developing discrepancy. The S in OARS is also sometimes referred to as self-motivational statements. These are used to get individuals to both recognize and verbalize the issue they are dealing with by pointing out the observations you have made and asking for their further input. Some other methods used in motivational interviewing are reframing. Reframing places a different meaning on what was said so they aren't so resistant. Say you have a participant that says, "My parents have really gone crazy over my being caught drinking at college and now want me to seek help. Sure, I know the school was going to suspend me, but my parents intervened and said I could come here for help." You might respond to that by saying, "It sounds like you feel like your parents are being overreactive, but their actions also seem to be the one thing that kept you from being suspended. What are your thoughts on that?" Then there's also looking forward. This encourages the thoughts and contemplation of the future. If you keep going the way you are, where do you think you'll be 5 years from now? Where would you like to be 5 years from now? What goals or things do you want for yourself? What are the things most important to you? The hierarchy of value tools works well here. Have them list the things that are most important to them, and then place them in order of priority. Which is most important? Which is least important? Then ask them where their behavior fits in. Point to the highest priorities and ask, how many of your priorities would you be willing to give up for your current behavior? Then there's also elaboration. When someone offers something bad about their behavior, ask them to talk more about it. Ask for an example, then ask for another example. Then there's also a Columbo technique. This is used when presented with conflicting information or behaviors. On one hand, you say you're terrified of going to jail, yet you continue to use. I'm confused here. Help me understand this. Then there's also therapeutic paradox. This is used by siding with ambivalence and presenting a challenge. If you use this method at all, use it very cautiously. These statements need to be stated genuinely, and the tone of voice is critical. It's extremely important there's no sarcasm in your voice. Maybe what is being asked is too difficult for you. Maybe you're just not ready to do this yet. You have been continuing to drink heavily, and yet you say you want to get your children back. Maybe you are not ready for change. So once again, the acronym OARS stands for Open-Ended Questions, Affirmations, Reflective Listening, and Summary Statements. It could be further expanded as Open-Minded Approach, Active Listening, Resilience Building, and Support. Or perhaps even Optimism, Achievement Recognition, Reframing, and Self-Empowerment. No matter which skill or method used, it is important to emphasize personal choice and control. If you tell someone what to do, it's usually taken as being confrontational and will often foster resistance. Again, create a free and friendly space to explore the difficult issues. When emphasizing and allowing personal choice and control over their problem behaviors, there is less resistance, and it allows them to be fully engaged in their recovery. If you recall, I previously mentioned the statements, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And it's not what you ask, it's how you ask it. When we're at task of helping others explore their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, it isn't a matter of to confront or not to confront. It is a matter of how to confront effectively.